So why do we begin with Greece? The point is that we begin with the ancient of the ancient, the history of the histories, where we can find where actually did criticism begin. And in that digging out, researchers have found that the most ancient critical writing that you can find, most ancient that you can find, is only from Greece. So, since the most ancient things that were written in a critical way, that were suggestive of judging a piece of art, is that they were critical. So, judgment of art is something that people had found in Greece to have been done for the first time. Or maybe critical judgment or criticism was there even before 6th and 4th century BCE, but no records of such critical works have been found so far. So far, no critical works have been found to belong to an age before 6th century Greece. This is why when we start studying ancient criticism, which is a larger period in time than classical criticism is, ये इसमें और भी types of criticism आते हैं. Classical is just one small portion of it. Classical criticism is one type of criticism that we find in ancient criticism. It is a type because it follows certain tradition, it follows certain typology. It is a particular category that is called classical criticism. Classical does not is not interchangeable with ancient. In ancient period, we also find other types of criticism in ancient times. But classical criticism is one kind of criticism that we find in this age, in ancient times. In ancient, let me not write ancient criticism, I'll write ancient times. In ancient times, one of the types of criticism that you find is called classical criticism. What does classical criticism mean? Are you so far clear about criticism and its difference from theory? It will become even more clear by and by when we start reading into each and every criticism that we are going to deal with in detail. Now, how did this begin in this time period? This is because critics found out of modern era of 19th century, 18th century. Critics found out, or philosophers found out, that the critical evaluation of any piece of art did exist from times. This even time immemorial can be used for this period in time because it's BCE, 500 BCE. So criticism was prevalent even in that time. Now, what does criticism mean? One is that you are writing in an artistic manner. So writing in an artistic form means you are writing a piece of art, which means you are writing maybe poetry, or you are writing songs, or you are writing drama, or any other form of art. This is something that we believe, humans believe, that it has always been there since humans have been there. But what about criticism? Was that also prevalent in times immemorial? What is criticism? It is judging the same, writing about poetry, how good or how bad it is, evaluating a work of art, evaluating it or judging how good or how bad an art piece is. When you are asked, do you like Harry Potter series? Do you like Korean dramas? If you say yes or no, at that point in time, you are passing a judgment if you like something or not. And then if you are further asked, why do you like something or Why do you not like it? Do you like Korean dramas? Suppose I pose a question to you. Do you like Korean dramas? And one of you says, no, I don't like it. And then begins, I want that person to explicate. Why don't you like Korean dramas? And they start telling you points why they hate them. One, I find all the faces the same, which means this person is not able to differentiate between the faces because of their features being somewhat alike, which is not actually the case. This person already is engaged into a critical evaluation of something. Get my point? This is criticism. Why do you like it? Why do you not like it? You start explicating on it, you start detailing it, you have already engaged into evaluation. But there is only a little difference between what we call literary criticism and the criticism you do on a daily basis. The difference is of one term that is supposed to be added to it. The term is systematic or professional evaluation. Systematic or professional evaluation of it. Now, when you said that you don't like K dramas because all the faces look alike, that's not systematic. That's not a professional judgment. But then, if you start giving reasons to support it, if you reasonably support your argument, and with that, if you not just reasonably support your argument from a logical perspective, but also from what has already been studied, observed by other researchers, research upon other research, what has already been studied, studying what has already been researched about it. If you reasonably argue that it's not just me saying this, there is person A who writes about it in this book, in this essay, there is person B who has done a field research and found that such and such is the case about the faces of Korean people. There is person C who also has same opinion but comes from a different background than A and B do. It becomes systematic and professional. Any questions so far?
No, ma'am.
Does this make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Then let me ask you for examples. Each one of you, come up with an example. While I'm asking one person to speak and give me an example between how ordinary criticism is different from a systematic criticism. You're giving me an example. The others are going to write this down in their chat section. Mehak, can you come in? Not Sahil Mehak, the other Mehak. Mehak, from all the criticism that you have read so far, can you give me differentiate between ordinary critical evaluation that one does from a literary critical evaluation, which is professional? Give me an example. The
Ma'am,
others write down examples in the chat. Sorry, Mehak, yes, begin
can we
again.
pick a Coleridge in this, which is not systematic, which is more of personal criticism? When he
I
talks,
didn't hear you. What did you say?
ma'am, can we take Coleridge in this?
Okay, Coleridge. You said Coleridge.
Yes,
Coleridge does what?
ma'am. Uska criticism is more personal.
Um,
When he takes
but
up poetry and he says that it is more of a, when the poet writes about something, it is more of a personal thing than something very professional.
yeah,
And
you know, that's of the types of other criticism. It doesn't belong to the ancient times, though. This type of criticism is called romantic criticism.
yeah,
They
ma'am,
believe,
I was talking about romantic, not classical.
so he is systematic. They believe that criticism doesn't need to be uh, evaluated from the perspective that people have been doing it. You can believe in logic and that's it. But it can be your own logic, your personal logic, and you don't need to deal with anything else. Personal logic, if you are able to reason out something which is based on your own personal experiences and logic, that's called romantic criticism. But even that is systematic. Coleridge has studied something out of which he uh, starts writing literaria biographia. So no, I was asking about ordinary criticism, which is
No, ma'am.
judgment but not systematic.
मैम अभी तो याद नहीं आ रहा कुछ भी.
Why do I say Coleridge is systematic? Because like I said, there should be person one has done this, person two has done something, person three has done something. Coleridge also takes ideas from, if you don't know, he does take ideas from Longinus. He relies upon Kant. He relies upon Hegel. हवा में नहीं है. So if it's hawa mein, it's like you and I talking about it, like on a coffee table, discussing about how good or bad something is. Anybody else? Maruk has an example. Maruk says, but Maruk, you have only shared it with me. Judgment over personality are not systematic. They're not based on a study. Now, let's talk about this if you are judging a personality. Well, again, like I said, there can be a systematic study of it. For example, Plato is criticized a lot by many critics, by many researchers. This does not mean that their study is not systematic or professional. They base it on other studies that have been taken up before or that have been taken up after. For example, Plato is mostly compared with Aristotle, and by that measuring device, Aristotle becomes the yardstick, and Plato gets nullified. But that too is systematic. But then if you're talking about friend one and friend two are talking to each other and they are discussing friend three and they don't have a good opinion about this person, this is something not systematic, not professional, because it's not reasonably logically evaluated. It's not very well studied. It's not very well researched.
That we pass on like criticize someone over like personality traits and dresses and something past comments. That's not critically evaluated. That's not professionally evaluated. That criticism cannot be systematic.
Right. You like a person, you don't like a person. It's not systematic criticism, but it is a criticism. But mostly when we talk about evaluating or judging something, we generally mean it in relation to art. If you like some art or if you don't like some art. There is a new kind of art that's coming up. Say, this is the Kashmiri rappers. Let's take the example of Kashmiri rappers. So if I ask each one of you, do you like them? Let me pick one. Maruk, do you like Kashmiri rappers?
Not
Why or
really.
why not? Why not?
For me, Kashmiri, for me, I think that that is somewhere deteriorating the real essence of Kashmiri language. That मीठापन जो language में होता है वो कहीं पे deteriorate हो रहा है उससे. And people may
Is
not
there
accept
anybody in
this, but
class?
me,
Is there anybody in class who likes Kashmiri rappers and thinks they are valuable for the culture? No? Okay. I am the one. Then, so this becomes a logical evaluation. So when you give me point one, I argue against it. So this becomes a dialogue. So we are having a dialogue. So therefore, our criticism is dialectic criticism. So what did you say? वो मीठापन जो लैंग्वेज का होता है वो
हो
खत्म हो
जाता
जाता
है कहीं पे.
है. But does language only have an aesthetic value? So when a language has to resist When a language has to resist, can it keep by the aesthetic terms? When language is supposed to resist, it has to resist the aesthetics too. No aesthetics is where resistance begins. So I supported my argument, right? And we are having a dialectical
Yes.
criticism. You have to continue after I said this. What do you say to this now? You have to sustain what you were saying.
Fine.
अगर आप मेरे एक ही
To me,
लॉजिक से गिर गई उसका मतलब आपका क्रिटिसिज्म स्ट्रांग था ही नहीं in the first place.
I got it. Fine. To me, that Kashmiri language has always been it has been a set of what can I say? There are many other ways to resist. For me, this rap has been a way of acculturation, and I don't believe in acculturation as such. This has been a Western art before, and to me, I don't believe in acculturation, and we always try to resist something which is in still we don't want to be polarized by anything which is Western in culture. So for me, I wanted to create something very much own, very much new, something which is own. So that's why I resist it. Not I don't like it.
So I continue the argument. I say that the language they use is Kashmiri. They are Kashmiri rappers and they make use of Kashmiri language and they make raps on Kashmiri. Language used is Kashmiri. And secondly, what I want to add to that is that it doesn't come from West, but these are the African Asians who had been forcibly taken from the triangular route to America forcibly, and now they want to dig on their roots that they sing their culture. The only thing they remember of their culture is the beats. They only remember the drum beats. This came with them as part of their culture. The West has been lost. The names have been lost. The color remains. The beats remain, and they beat these beats in their rap. And rap is also the beats that basically represents the anger of the people. So what Kashmiris are doing, they are making use of the same beats of anger with their own language. Therefore, this is not acculturation, but for me, it's a global means of resistance, while it's also a local resistance. Continue.
Fine. What will I continue? Before you,
Okay.
this is like
So this is also critical error. मतलब हमारा point नहीं है कि हमें एक दूसरे को हराना है. The point of criticism is not vanquishing the other. You don't have to prove the other person weak. But what you do is it's a dialectical criticism. Let's discuss it. Let's have a dialogue so that we can come to a solution. This is how politics works these days. We have a dialogue. In Afghanistan, what did Pakistan want? That Taliban has a dialogue with America so that a solution is brought out. And the solution could never be brought out. Why? Because one always wanted to vanquish the other. So therefore, reason doesn't work. And also, reason, logic is something that comes from Western philosophy. Were you able to record this, Anika?
No, ma'am.
I'm not talking about recording, the digital recording. I'm talking
Okay,
about
okay.
you're able to make notes of this.
Actually, I stopped making notes once I saw you recording.
That's a bad thing. Someday or other, you
Yes,
will have to
ma'am.
go back to the
Please,
classroom
in
form of
such a
education. So stop being too dependent upon recordings.
yes,
अपनी
ma'am,
वो
sorry.
स्टूडेंट वाली आदतें गलत स्टेज पे छोड़ रहे हो आप लोग, ठीक है?
Yes,
और गलत स्टेज पे टीचर्स ने भी वो लेक्चर्स देना छोड़ दिया जो जरूरत है. So this is what classical criticism was like. This is how it began. Some made use of the same method. This method was called Socratic method because it comes from Socrates. This is exactly what Socratic method is like. जो हमने अभी dialogue use किया, dialectical criticism जो हमने use किया, it's called Socratic method in ancient criticism. Now, where is the roots of it? The roots of criticism. Why is it called criticism? So what happened in ancient times, like I said, nothing was, once it was performed, it's not that he could go, this person, Aristotle or Plato would say, I'll go back and watch everything on my mobile phone at ease when everything is recorded. I listen to all of this again and then critically judge, was it good or was it bad? So Oedipus Rex is performed. Who has written Oedipus Rex? Who has written Oedipus Rex? Who has written Oedipus Rex or Oedipus?
Sophocles.
Yeah. But जवाब क्यों नहीं देते? ये भी नई आदत हो गई है. Sophocles. So when Sophocles is staging Oedipus Rex for the audience cannot say, I'll leave my phone on the desk, record it, and then listen to everything at home. I had a student back in my university. She would put her phone on my desk, जो teachers का table होता है वहाँ पे, to record everything. Not that she wasn't listening to me, but she always wanted to go back to my lectures even in class. So she started digitizing it even before second stanzas digitized it for you. But Sophocles and his viewers could not do it at that point in time. They had to view it, and at the same moment, they could go back home and start writing about it, which is judging it. Or at the same moment, viewers were to judge it, to convey to Sophocles if it was good or bad. This judging, in Greek terms, the judges were called kritai. And if you're doing it, what you happen to be doing in Western terms is you happen to be criticizing. Comes from the word kritai, which means judges. These were the judges who used to judge a drama, any art form in that period. They were called kritai. Now, who were they? Again, this was something that was discussed already yesterday. These were the elite class people who were cultured men and had knowledge and education, and therefore could evaluate a piece of art, systematically evaluate. Because for systematically evaluating something, you need to have education. And then with education, you also need to have the talent of writing in a proper systematic manner. For example, you need to have known the Socratic method. For that, you need to have had a teacher like Socrates. And who in this time had teachers like Socrates? Socrates himself started writing it. And then it was followed by Plato. Plato followed what Socrates used to write. And then after that, the next thing that is important about this is these are the people who studied literary text, literary performances, and I use the term performances for drama, but there is also text because poems are available in the written form. What I said yesterday was that publication or press wasn't available. So it's not that frequently each and everybody can have a copy of the poem, but poems are written. Have you ever heard of the term palimpsest? What is palimpsestic writing? Heard of palimpsest? This is the kind of writing, it's something that's studied by critics about the text that was available in that time that was written on tablets. And then the same tablets were overused, used and then used again. Because the words eventually vanished and then it could be reused. That kind of writing is called palimpsestic writing. Rewriting over the same piece. The tablets that were used, have you heard of tablets used in Greek traditions? ये तो पढ़ते थे history में, civilizations जब पढ़ते हैं, Indus, Greek, Mesopotamian civilization.
Yes,
so they use these tablets. This is the same period. They are using tablets. So poems are written in some form, they are available, and this becomes literary text. that are also, through these texts, they also perform the function of art that it performs even today. It has a social function. It has an artistic function, or even an ideological function. For example, one of the poets we know of is, of the same time, I gave you the name yesterday,
Homer.
one of the poets of this time is Homer, known for his epics. So his epics were long poems. What are epics? Long poems that tell you about the heroic actions of a man. Long poems that tells you about heroic actions of a man are called epics. So inside, Homer was one of the writers of these epics. And so in that story that Homer writes about, it has a social function because his hero is a social being. It has an artistic function because it can be sung. It's long form, and form also follows certain artistic form or artistic style. It has certain meter that it maintains, and Homer therefore becomes an artist because he writes in an artistic form. And he also has an ideological function because his heroes are always fighting for a nation. So they are working for an ideology when Homer writes it, right? What is he writing for? Nationalism. Greek nationalism. And then comes critics, the judges. Did people like him or people did not like him? Well, people like Plato did not like Homer. And now he will tell you in his works why he does not like somebody. He will systematically sustain his argument. He will logically give it to you, logically present his idea of not liking Homer, and he will give you reasons why he does not like him. And then he finally gives you a solution to the problem, that because I have given you the logic, how poets are a problem, the solution to all these problems is, Mehak, what is the solution Plato gives about poets?
Ma'am, he bans them.
Banish the poets is his solution. That if you want a republic to be strong, a republic is associated with the idea of nationalism, right? If you want a republic to function without any problem, if you want a republic to have only good citizens in it and no bad citizens, what do you need to do? You need to get rid of bad poets like Homer. Now, why they are bad and who are these good poets that he likes and retains in the republic is something we deal with in detail when we deal with Plato. Right now, I'm only giving you the idea of what a critical evaluation, a critical piece of work is, and how it will be later on. You will easily figure out how one critical evaluation is different from another. Like I'm only talking about how Socratic method will be used by Plato. And then Aristotle will come in and he will not make use of this method. He will simply write in the prosaic form that you are familiar with in your non-fictional prose. Aristotle makes use of the same logical way of expressing some idea. Secondly, what you also need to know is that it appears like one philosopher in that time wasn't just a philosopher, he was everything, right? Like Aristotle. So before coming to English, many of you had the background of science. Did you not then come across Aristotle? Why? Even in
Yes, ma'am.
biology, you learn about Aristotle. Was he a philosopher? Did he belong to arts? इसने 11th में क्या लिया था? आपको कुछ समझ आता है? एरिस्टोटल ने 11th में आर्ट्स लिया था या साइंस लिया था? उस टाइम एक ही चीज लेना होता था, education. And that meant everything. You are educated in everything. If you are educated, you are educated in everything. You are a lawyer, you are a judge, you are a doctor, you are a botanist, you are a zoologist, you are everything yourself. And this is why you find Aristotle writes about on science, on biology, on logic. Logic comes from philosophy. On poetry, he's also a poet. Not a poet, I mean, he's a critic of poetry. So he reads Homer, he reads biology, he reads logic, he reads everything. That reading is where the systematic and logical idea comes, because they are reading other people's work. That's what makes them philosophers. Also, one of the logical arguments of Plato for banishing the poets is because they don't read too much. They write, of course they write, but they are not educated. They are not learned men. And because they are not learned, they don't know what reality or truth is. The truth is just one, which according to Plato is metaphysical truth. हम ये यहीं पे छोड़ते हैं क्योंकि ये हमें डिटेल में पढ़ना है. So इस पे ध्यान नहीं दो. About the rest, any questions? We have 5 minutes. I just want to discuss it with you and not burden you up with anything more at this point. हम अभी और पढ़ेंगे criticism के बारे में, how it works, and then we'll come to classical criticism and then Plato in detail. So far, is it good for an introduction? Are you able to make sense of things as an introduction?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any questions you have? Any suggestions you think that can make the classes better? You never have an answer to this question.
मैम सच में अच्छी चल रही है क्लास, मतलब जैसे हमें पढ़ाया जाता है उस हिसाब से तो बहुत ज्यादा अच्छी चल रही है.
उसको स्टैंडर्ड बनाए बगैर कोई बेटर स्टैंडर्ड देख के, कहीं से देख के, पता लगा के, then let me know how we can make our classes better.
मैम आपकी
Yes, ma'am.
क्लास कंटिन्यू करके एक दिन समझ आ जाएगा कि हमें क्या चाहिए.
अच्छा, और क्लासेस के बाद you will be able to tell me about this. यही बोल रहे हो?
पता नहीं,
फिर क्या बोल रहे हो?
कुछ नहीं
बोलो.
मैम. यही
Ma'am, you better know what
मतलब
a
फिलहाल
student
के लिए जहन में हमें बस वही है, जैसे अनिका ने बोला धीरे धीरे क्लियर हो रहा है, तो जैसे हमें लगेगा हमें कुछ और चाहिए तो हम उसको बता देंगे.
ठीक है, चलो ठीक है. Okay, I'll leave you at that then, and tomorrow we'll again begin with classical criticism. Thank you.
थैंक यू मैम.
Allah Hafiz.